Your dog has a bed. A good one, probably. Maybe it cost more than it should have. And yet, the moment you stand up from the couch, they stand up. You walk to the kitchen. They walk to the kitchen. You go to the bathroom and close the door. And within seconds, there's a nose pressed into the gap at the bottom, sniffing, waiting. Most people have a name for this. Clingy, Velcro dog, needy. They laugh about it, post videos online captioned, "I can't go anywhere alone." And the comments fill with people describing the exact same shadow following them from room to room. But here's the thing, almost no one stops to actually ask. Why? Why does an animal with its own space, its own bed, its own toys, its own perfectly comfortable spot in the corner? Why does that animal track your every movement like its life depends on knowing where you are? The explanation most people reach for is simple. The dog loves you, needs attention, or is anxious. And while none of those are entirely wrong, they miss something far more interesting. Because what behavioral scientists have spent decades uncovering is that following behavior in dogs isn't just an emotional quirk. It's an ancient system, still running, in an animal that lives inside your house. The first thing you need to understand is what your dog is actually doing when they follow you. And it starts much further back than most people expect. Dogs evolved from wolves, pack animals whose survival depended entirely on social cohesion. In the wild, proximity to the group meant access to food, protection from predators, and a higher chance of living through the night. Separation wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. The wolves that stayed close survived. The ones that wandered did not. Over thousands of years, that drive to maintain proximity became hardwired into the canine nervous system, and it didn't disappear when wolves became dogs. It transferred. What changed is who the pack became. When dogs domesticated alongside humans, a process that began roughly 15,000 years ago, they transferred the attachment behaviors they once directed at other wolves onto their human companions. You became the pack, and the ancient instinct to track the location of the group leader, to stay within a safe radius, to know where the central figure of safety is at all times. All of that is still running in your dog's brain every single day. But instinct alone doesn't explain everything, because what researchers discovered next went far deeper. In 1998, a team of ethologists led by József Topál and Topál Miklósi at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest applied a classic psychological framework, the strange situation test, originally designed to measure attachment in human infants, to 51 owner-dog pairs. What they were looking for was whether dogs showed the same patterns of emotional dependency on their owners that infants show with their parents. What they found changed how scientists understand the human-dog bond. The dogs didn't just prefer the owners during separation. They demonstrated measurable patterns of secure attachment, using the owner as a psychological base from which to explore the environment, showing distinct responses when the owner left compared to when a stranger left, and seeking the owner specifically upon reunion. The pattern was not random. It was structured. It was, in the technical language of behavioral science, the same architecture of attachment found in human children. Your dog following you isn't a quirk. It's the expression of a bonding system that evolved in human infants and that dogs, through thousands of years of coevolution, developed their own version of. And then, in 2013, the same research group at Eötvös Loránd University took this further. In a study published in PLOS ONE, Gácsi and colleagues tested 30 dogs in a situation most owners would recognize immediately, facing something threatening, either alone or with their owner present. The researchers measured not just behavior, but physiology, heart rate variability, stress vocalizations, with telemetric equipment that tracked the dog's body in real time. The results were striking. When a threatening stranger approached, dogs alone showed elevated heart rates, distress vocalizations, and defensive behavior. When the same threatening approach happened with the owner present, heart rate dropped. Distress calls were reduced, the behavioral response was calmer. The researchers called it the human analog safe haven effect, a direct parallel to the way human children run to a parent when frightened. Your presence in the room doesn't just comfort your dog. It actively regulates their nervous system. Your proximity is not a luxury for them. It is, neurologically speaking, a resource. And here is where it gets genuinely counterintuitive. Most owners assume that a dog who follows them everywhere must be anxious, insecure, or over-attached. Research says otherwise. A study examining dogs with and without separation, anxiety found that following behavior in the house was equally common in both groups. Dogs with no anxiety at all followed their owners just as consistently as dogs with documented separation problems. The behavior is not a warning sign in itself. It is, for most dogs, simply what attachment looks like in motion. The distinction behavioral scientists draw is not between dogs who follow and dogs who don't. It's between how they follow. A dog moving calmly from room to room, able to pause, settle, and disengage. That is secure proximity seeking. The dog is maintaining awareness of your location, confirming you're there, and relaxing. This is attachment functioning exactly as it should. A dog who follows with urgency, who cannot settle even when you're visible, who vocalizes when you step behind a closed door for 30 seconds, who shows physical signs of distress, elevated breathing, pacing, inability to eat or play. That is a different system running. That is anxiety. And it is associated with what veterinary behaviorists call separation-related disorder, which research suggests affects somewhere between 14 and 20% of the dog population. The bodies look similar from the outside. One dog behind you in the kitchen, another dog behind you in the kitchen. But the internal state driving those behaviors is entirely different. One is an animal that trusts you and wants to be near you. The other is an animal that is not okay when you're not in view. Learning to read which one you're watching, loose body, soft eyes, able to lie down and rest when you stop moving, versus tight body, panting, fixed gaze, never settling, is one of the most practically useful things a dog owner can develop. There's also one more layer worth knowing. In 2015, Miho Nagasawa and colleagues at Azabu University published a study in the journal Science that identified something extraordinary. When dogs and their owners make sustained eye contact, both species experience a measurable rise in oxytocin, the same neurochemical that drives bonding between human mothers and their infants. The same loop, an interspecies biochemical feedback system that the researchers described as evidence of coevolution. Two species shaping each other's social biology across thousands of years. When your dog looks at you and you look back, something happens in both of your bodies that is not metaphorical. It is chemical, it is ancient, and it helps explain why proximity to you matters so much to an animal that has no words to say it. So the next time you stand up from wherever you're sitting and you hear those familiar footsteps start up behind you before you've even fully risen, understand what you're actually watching. That is not clinginess. That is not manipulation. That is not an animal that doesn't know how to be alone. That is 15,000 years of shared evolution expressing itself in real time. That is a nervous system that has learned at a biological level that your presence means safety. That is an attachment bond confirmed by peer-reviewed science to operate through the same neural and hormonal architecture as the bond between a parent and child. Your dog follows you to every room in the house for the same reason you check that a door is locked before you sleep. Because the brain, when it has learned something, keeps it safe, doesn't stop thinking about it. They're not following you because they can't manage without you. They're following you because somewhere in the architecture of what they are, you became the answer to a very old question their nervous system keeps asking. And until you sit back down, it keeps asking. If this changed how you see that shadow behind you, subscribe and leave a comment. Does your dog follow you everywhere or just certain rooms? And have you ever noticed them watching the door before you even stood up?